Good morning. Before I get to today's topic, I'm just going to make a brief comment about my hair. Because so many of you, or several of you anyway, think it's okay to make comments on my hair, tell me to get a haircut, or tell me I look 20 years younger when it's pulled back into the ponytail. And while while I get a chuckle out of some of the comments, how I wear my hair is really my business. I don't need to go around commenting on telling anyone else how they can look better, although I may have opinions. I generally keep them to myself. But anyway, today's title is Bitter 70 Commentary and More. In yesterday's video, I mentioned that I had watched the documentary Bitter 70 on Thursday evening. This award-winning feature-length video tells the story about Tim DeChristopher, the environmental activist college student who derailed an illegal Bureau of Land Management oil and gas lease auction in 2008. I'm going to comment on some of the things I saw in the film. First, here's a quote by Tim DeChristopher. Open quote. "At this point of unimaginable threats on the horizon, this is what hope looks like. In these times of a morally bankrupt government that has sold out its principles, this is what patriotism looks like. With countless lives on the line, this is what love looks like, and it will only grow." End quote. The government is not only morally bankrupt, it is unlawful because it violates natural law and common law rights of the people every day. The very system itself is a criminal enterprise. This is what truth looks like. Let me first say that the video or the film was inspiring. To see all the grassroots activism and all the support that Tim was able to gather around himself and hear all of the inspirational messages that he gave and others gave in regard to government practices and corporate practices and stuff like that that were going on in 2008 and are still going on in 2013. It was nice to see so much support. His church absolutely stood around him and supported him. And I need to put a plug in. He went to the Unitarian-Universalist church, the UU church. And let me say something about UU churches that I have known in my life. I've attended a handful of them over the course of my life. And when I was a fundamentalist Christian, I thought that they were spiritually bankrupt because they were much more involved in social and political issues than they were in spiritual issues. And probably that's true a lot in today's world as well. As I had the opportunity to speak in various churches here locally in Florida, I noticed a difference between congregations even. There's 3 congregations. I've spoken in all of them, and no 2 of them are the same, even though they all wear the UU label. But I will say this. I appreciate the social and political activism more today than I did when I was a fundamentalist Christian. It's necessary, extremely necessary, that spiritual/religious people educate ourselves and go down the rabbit hole as far as it takes us to learn the truth about what's happening in our world. The activism was environmentally based. It was, of course, political activism, but it was based on global warming, which to me is a lie created by the establishment with the hopes of making people feel guilty for our contribution to global warming, when in fact all of the planets in the solar system are warming up. Even the outer planets, as far as NASA tells us and as far as we're able to gather the information, all the planets in our solar system are heating up, not just Earth. And I don't believe that has anything to do with SUVs and other fuel-based or carbon-based fuels on other planets. Maybe I'm wrong, but I would think that that problem is only an earthbound problem that they want to tax us for. They are causing the pollution, and they want to tax us because we use the products that they have given us to use in this culture of commerce, which is a culture that violates our human rights. And the human rights aspect was barely, if at all, touched on in the documentary. It was, we've got to save our planet. Well, if we're going to save our planet, we first have to save the problem that's on the planet, and that's the people. Not the animals, not the plants. All of these things are important, but it's the people that cause the problem. And people cause the problem because we've got it all backwards. We look at what the government does that we don't like environmentally. That's what the film was about. It did an excellent job of pointing that out. And I don't think there was a person who watched that film, and there were probably, 50 to 100 people. Well, maybe not 50, I don't know. There might have been 50 people there. I'm just going to just say that. There was a nice turnout. It was the Space Coast Progressive Alliance, which I've attended some of their meetings over the years, and they oftentimes have worthwhile things going on. They are extremely liberal, as you would imagine, and don't understand the conservative aspects of the law. Now, in the term, the illegal Bureau of Land Management oil and gas lease auction, those are not my words. Those words are actually taken from the description on Google when I looked up the film. That's their word, illegal. The truth of the matter is, it was probably legal in many respects, because legal is a de facto term. That means we've made a rule that allows this. But it's usually an unlawful thing that violates rights of some kind, even if it's rights of the planet. It violates natural rights and it violates common law. There's a difference, a huge difference between illegal and unlawful. There's lots of things that have been made legal in our system that are absolutely unlawful, which is why I say the very system itself is a criminal enterprise. Indeed it is. And it's all based on the criminal enterprise called modern banking. And it's probably true of ancient banking as well. Banks create fraud, period. The whole monetary system is based on fraud. That's still over the head of almost everybody I talk to. They don't get it. They don't get that banks don't lend money. Banks commit fraud. They turn notes that are signed by human beings who have actual value, and they turn those notes into money. They are negotiable instruments. They sell them, and they do not tell the, quote, apparent borrower the truth, which makes all of those loans, so-called loans, fraud. Because you cannot have a contract where there are elements of the contract that are withheld from either of the parties. And there always has to be more than one party. And another thing that many people don't know is that the state has no natural rights. It is a fiction. It is not real. It is something that is made up. We created this. We, the collective humanity, created this system of commerce, and it has enslaved us. It enslaves both the perpetrator of the crimes and the victims of the crimes, because it doesn't allow the full potential of any part of that humanity, either side of that humanity, to come into fruition. It doesn't allow that. It doesn't encourage that, because it deprives us of truth. And only truth will set us free. Now, I watched as the judge in this documentary gave instructions to the jury and forbid to the defense all of the defenses that would have won the case. Anything that would paint the government in a bad way and stand up for natural law and natural rights and common law, all of that was forbidden. Common law shall not enter this courtroom. That should be or could be the mantra of American courts today in 2013. These courts are criminal enterprises in bed with the banks, committing the fraud. The judges take money from the banks and from the mortgage-backed securities to fund their retirement benefits. So all of them that act in any way on mortgages, for example, anytime that the judge rules on a mortgage case, they are committing fraud. They're acting unlawfully. They have a vested interest. It's a conflict of interest. That is a violation of law, real law. You can't have an interest and make an impartial decision. You can't. Therefore, you cannot be a judge sitting on that bench. But the judge gave instructions to the jury to only consider the law that he told them what the law was. Now, a jury, by lawful definition, has the right not only to judge on the case itself, it has the right and the responsibility to judge and rule on the law. If the law violates natural rights, the jury has the right and the responsibility to nullify that law. That's called jury nullification. They can nullify the law and say the law has no validity. It is void. It is void. Most laws that are called laws on the books, and there are thousands upon thousands, tens of thousands even, of pages of laws. I mean, it's unbelievable how many laws, acts, statutes, rules are on the books. They are mostly unlawful. In fact, the laws, the rules of civil procedure in federal courts in the United States, the second thing it says, first of all, it says no rule shall take away anyone's rights. And the second sentence in that two-sentence paragraph is, or goes very close like this: once the rules are established, the law shall have no effect. In other words, rules nullify law, making the rules unlawful. Get it? That's the truth. That's why all courts, federal, state, whatever, at whatever level, local, whatever level courts exist, they're going by rules that are unlawful, which is why there is no justice in the current system. It is based not on common law, but on Roman law. And the Pope just made everyone that sits in these courts accountable. They can no longer hide behind Roman law He basically nullified Roman law if I understand the most recent decree. Truth is coming out, and it's truth that's going to set us free. But activists, whether they're political activists of the right or the left, have to understand that the system itself is corrupt, it's broken, it needs fixing, it needs a total house cleaning. The law books need to be burned, because you don't need a whole lot of law books. What you need is common sense, and to understand that freedom is the pinnacle. It's the cornerstone. It's the what's the word? It's the column that supports everything that's good and decent and true in our culture. And that's not supported anymore because we have abrogated our rights to a system of fraud. Beginning with the bankers, going then to the corporations and to the governments, which are nothing but corporations acting falsely as governments. They are not governing. The courts are not administering justice in any way, shape, or form. It's all a fraud. Until we get this through our head, we will not be able to change it. But thank God, many people are waking up. This movie did not wake anybody up in this regard. Not anybody at all. The fraud would continue. They don't realize the movie didn't make it clear that the judge was committing a criminal act in the way that he conducted the case. The judge himself is guilty of crimes against humanity. The judge himself is guilty of violating natural law and common law rights of the people. He's guilty of violating his oath of office to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States. And every policeman that arrests people under these false rules and orders from judges that are breaking the law and committing treason are themselves treasonous. They are committing criminal acts against the people and hiding behind a badge that is virtually meaningless, as is their oath of office to uphold and defend the Constitution. I'm talking about in the United States here, but there are similar things in other countries. Anyway, these are things that I wanted to share with you that go beyond what the movie Bitter 70, what that movie presented. It was inspiring and it was good, but it only went part way. I ask you, how far down the rabbit hole are you willing to go to liberate yourself and the rest of humanity from the system of fraud in the matrix that we have co-created? Think about this. Thank you for listening. Namaste.